So, you want to really learn English? Well, you might have to forget everything you learned in school. Seriously. Today, we're going to dig into a method that's way less about boring rules and way more about actually enjoying the journey. Let's dive in.
Okay, does this feel familiar? I bet it does for a lot of you. You've poured hours into those grammar books. You've tried to just watch movies in English, but you still feel like you've hit a wall. It's so frustrating, right? You feel like you're doing all the work, but that real natural fluency, it just isn't happening.
And here's the thing, here's the real problem. There's this massive gap between how we're usually taught and how our brains are actually wired to learn languages. On one side, you've got the old way, all about memorizing rules, those super boring drills, and being terrified of making a mistake. But what if we just flipped that? What if we tried a new way, one that's all about listening to stuff you actually enjoy, learning naturally, and building up that confidence? All right, so here's our game plan for today. We've got 5 stops on this journey. First, we'll go beyond the classroom. Then, we're going to learn like a child. After that, I'll introduce you to something called the balanced diet method. Then, we'll build your personal toolkit for practice. And finally, we'll get you on the path to finding your own unique English voice.
Okay, first up, beyond the classroom. Let's get right to it. The biggest problem for most English learners, it's not that you're not trying hard enough. It's almost never about effort. It's about a lack of enjoyable, authentic, and just consistent listening practice.
And yeah, this lays out the common traps perfectly. You try to watch movies, right? But your brain is so focused on the action, the visuals, that the language just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. Then you try podcasts for native speakers and, whoa, it's just way too fast, way too confusing. So what do? You find podcasts for learners and, let's be honest, they're often just so dull. They feel like homework, not something you'd actually want to listen to.
So if all those common methods are kind of broken, what actually works? Well, for the answer, we have to look at how we all learned our very first language. We've got to learn like a child. We're going to dive into the science of this based on the incredible work of a linguist named Steven Krashen.
Okay, so Krashen basically splits this into 2 big ideas. First up is language acquisition. This is the magic you see with little kids. It's subconscious, it's passive, it's like you're a sponge just picking up the language. And how does it work? It's all about focusing on the meaning, the story, the message, not getting bogged down trying to analyze every single word.
Then, on the other hand, you have language learning. Now, this is what you probably think of when you hear the word study. It's that conscious, active effort. You're sitting down, you're memorizing grammar rules, you're making flashcards for vocab. It's the classroom stuff, very structured, very analytical.
And this quote just nails it. The main focus is simply to understand. Your goal isn't to dissect a sentence and find the past participle. Nope, it's just to get the joke, to follow the plot, to understand the point someone is making. And the crazy thing is, you just kind of pick up the language as a result. It's almost a side effect of understanding.
Krashen also had this brilliant idea he called the affective filter. Think of it like a mental wall. When you're stressed out, anxious, or worried about making mistakes, that wall goes way up. It's like a shield and no new language can get through. But when you're relaxed, you're confident, you're actually having fun, that wall comes right down and your brain is just open to absorb everything, almost without you trying.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do we actually do it? Well, that's what brings us to our next section, the balanced diet method. This is where we're going to combine the best of both worlds, that passive acquisition and the active learning.
And you know what? It's actually super simple. Think about it like a healthy diet. You can't just eat vegetables and you can't just eat dessert. You need a balance. It's the same for language. Step 1, acquire. This is where you feed your brain tons and tons of interesting, fun English content. And step 2, learn. This is where you set aside some time to actively look at the details, the nuts and bolts.
So let's talk about the acquire part. What does that actually look like? Well, it's all about enjoyable immersion and doing it consistently. Listen often and for more than just 5 minutes at a time. And here's the absolute key. Pick stuff you genuinely think is interesting. Seriously, if you love science fiction, find sci-fi podcasts. If you're obsessed with cooking, watch cooking videos. The goal is just to focus on the overall message, kick back, relax, and let your brain soak it all in.
Okay, now for the learn side of your diet. This is where you put on your detective hat and get a little more analytical. Sure, you can look at a grammar rule in a textbook, but then, and this is the game changer, you go find real content, like a podcast transcript, and see how that rule is actually used by real people. Here's a great tip. Try transcribing a 1-minute clip of audio yourself. It is an amazing way to discover exactly what you know and what you don't know yet.
All right, you've got the diet down. Now let's build your active practice toolkit. We're going to do a quick run through of some powerful techniques for all 4 of the big skills: listening, reading, writing, and of course, speaking. First up, listening. My biggest piece of advice here: don't be afraid to push your comfort zone a little. It's actually a good thing to listen to stuff you don't understand completely. That little bit of struggle, that's your brain building new connections. And the real secret weapon? Repetition. Seriously, listen to the same podcast episode or song 2, 3, even 4 times. You'll be amazed at all the new details, words, and rhythms you catch each time.
Now, for reading and writing, let's bring back our best friend, the transcript. Reading along while you listen is just one of the most powerful ways to connect the sounds you're hearing to the actual written words. And for writing practice, we already mentioned transcribing, which is fantastic, but even something as simple as leaving a well-thought-out comment on a video or a podcast you liked, that's great practice too.
And now we get to the big one: speaking. For so many of us, this is the scariest part, right? That fear of saying something wrong, of sounding silly, it can be totally paralyzing. But I have to be honest with you. If you want to be fluent, it is the single most important skill you have to practice. There's just no way around it. Just remember this quote: "A man who never made mistakes never made anything." Mistakes are not failures. Let me say that again. Mistakes are not failures. They are proof that you are trying. Every single error is just a stepping stone on your path. You've got to embrace them if you want to make any real lasting progress.
Okay, so let's make this practical. Here's a simple 3-step action plan for speaking. Step 1, record yourself. Just take your phone, read a paragraph out loud, and then listen back. Compare it to how a native speaker sounds. Step 2, repeat and mimic. This is huge. Don't just repeat the words. Try to copy the music of the language, the rhythm, the intonation. And step 3, find a partner. There are so many online communities now where you can find people to practice with in a totally safe and supportive space.
And all of this, it brings us to our final and maybe most important point: finding your English voice. Because at the end of the day, nobody cares how many grammar rules you know by heart. Fluency isn't about what you know. It's about what you can do.
Look, it really all boils down to one thing: practice. You have to be an active player in your own learning. Don't be that quiet student in the back of the class. You can listen and read forever, but eventually, you've just got to open your mouth and get talking.
And I absolutely love this little saying. It should be your mantra. Don't be shy, give it a try. Think about it. You have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. So what's the worst that happens? You mess up a word? Big deal. Every single time you try, you gain a little more confidence. You pick up a new word and you get a better feel for the flow of English.
So I'm going to leave you with a question. Not what you'll do next week or next month, but what is the one single active step you're going to take today to start finding your English voice? Don't worry about the giant long-term plan right now. Just pick one thing. Maybe it's recording yourself speaking for 30 seconds. Maybe it's finding one new podcast you're excited about. Whatever it is, your journey starts with that one small step. You've got this.